Now, imagine for a moment that 1 in every 8 Kenyans is brutally murdered in a choreographed, senseless campaign of elimination. That's what happened 26 years ago in Rwanda. The country's population then was about 8 million people. And by the time the genocide against the Tutsis was over, close to 1 million had been murdered and killed in the worst orgy of madness and mayhem of the second half of the 20th century. 26 years later, Rwanda has clawed its way back and has even surprised its most hardened critics and pessimists. Phrases like remarkable Rwanda and visit Rwanda are now commonly used around the world. So what lessons did Rwanda learn from the genocide? And more importantly, what lessons can the rest of us as Africans learn? Well, our very own Jeff Koinange has spent some time at a place that can only be described as hell on earth. Here's part 1 of Lessons from Rwanda.
Tucked neatly in the neighborhood of Gisozi, right on the edge of the nation's capital, Kigali, is a place that every African leader or wannabe leader needs to visit at least once. This is the Kigali Genocide Memorial. 7.5 acres of sadness and sorrow, where you come face to face with the gruesome brutality and savagery of a people simply gone mad. On the evening of April the 6th, 1994, a plane carrying the presidents of both Rwanda and Burundi was shot out of the skies as it approached Kigali International Airport. Everyone on board was killed in the fiery blaze. That same evening, groups of militiamen known as the Interahamwe, loosely translated in the Hutu language as those who hunt and kill together, set up roadblocks around the capital and the country and began to single-handedly and systematically eliminate their rival tribe, the Tutsis. What followed was as primitive as it was medieval. The weapons of choice: pangas or machetes, axes, bows and arrows, and all manner of crude weapons. No one, it seemed, was spared. Entire Tutsi families were wiped out. Tutsis married to Hutus were wiped out. Hutus married to Tutsis were wiped out. Anyone associated with the Tutsi tribe was targeted for elimination. It was, of course, an orchestrated, pre-planned genocide. The perpetrators had to know their targets and, more importantly, who to go after. Something of this horrendous magnitude could not have happened at the spur of the moment. By the time the orgy of hatred and horror had ended, close to 1 million, mostly Tutsis and moderate Hutus, had been brutally murdered in a little more than 3 months. 100 days of unspeakable madness and mayhem. As the world turned its back on Rwanda, one man and his group of determined, disciplined rebel forces decided to do something about it. Paul Kagame, the tall, skinny, former refugee turned rebel leader, turned liberator.
Right here in this church, several hundred Tutsi families seeking refuge in the one place they thought would be a safe haven.
I remember reporting in Rwanda after the genocide. We traveled across the entire country, from Nharama to Kibuye, from Gikongoro to Busenyi, and in every hamlet, in every village, in every town, and in every district, we came across countless victims of the genocide who lay where they had been murdered. In their homes, in their churches, in their schools, in hospitals, in maize fields, and even in pit latrines. It was as shocking as it was bone-chilling. Rwandans then were not ready to forget their ugly past. It's almost as though they wanted to keep things as they were, as an everyday reminder of a country's indescribable brutality. Now, in 2004, the Kagame administration decided to build memorials like this one across the country and ordered a team to retrieve the now decayed remains and give them a decent and honorable resting place. This one in Kigali is the largest one of all.
Memorial sites like this may help heal the physical scars of genocide.
I was here in Kigali 16 years ago, reporting on the finishing touches that were being made to the Kigali Genocide Memorial to coincide with the 10th anniversary. Starting in 2004 and every year since, on the 7th of April, President Kagame leads his nation in lighting the symbolic everlasting flame, a sign of hope and healing in a land so scarred and so battered. The flame stays lit for exactly 100 days.
Now I'm standing on what can only be described as holy ground. You see these concrete slabs beside me? These aren't just concrete slabs. These are the vaults containing tens of thousands of remains of Rwandans who were killed in those 100 days of unspeakable horror. There are about 10 vaults like these spread across this entire genocide memorial. Each vault contains the remains of 25,000 bodies. Do the math. That's 250,000 remains. And those were the ones found just here in Kigali alone. In homes and schools, in offices and churches, in pit latrines and gullies and ditches and rivers. All the remains here as a reminder of what took place 26 years ago.
Beneath these slabs of concrete are fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, aunties and uncles, grandfathers and grandmothers. But even more tragic is that more and more remains continue to be unearthed around Kigali as construction crews break new ground to put up the capital's latest skyscrapers. And so this giant graveyard continues to expand a few acres every year, adding more victims to the already crowded numbers. Blaise Rutajengwa is just one of countless survivors of this horrific chapter of Rwanda's history. His father, Kostikat Stanislaus Rutajengwa, was a wealthy businessman back in the 1990s and closely allied with the Rwandan Patriotic Front. We found Blaise on this day as he came to lay flowers at his father's grave. He lives in the town of Musanze, 2 hours outside Kigali in the country's north. But whenever he's in Kigali, he passes by this dark and dreary place to pay his respects. His aging mother is too sick to travel, and his 2 remaining sisters are scattered across the United States. Blaise was 7 years old when his father was murdered in cold blood, as the rest of the family watched in horror.
Dad, I'd like to say it's been a rough 26 years without you. I only wish you were here because life without a father was one of the hardest lives I ever lived. And I'm glad I'm still alive. In the name of the Holy Spirit, you rest in peace.
He remembers it like it was yesterday.
The morning of the 9th, 2 presidential guards come at the house in a Jeep, in a French Jeep. I don't know what kind, Mark. I was 7 years old. They come to our house, the gate, and they're looking for him. They knock. They ask the housekeepers, the gates. They're like, open the gate. Want to get in? They're like, no, we're not opening for you. He's not expecting you. We're not opening. And then they were like, okay. Well, it was a pretty high fence. It was like it was almost 5 meter high. So if they don't open the gate, the guys have to jump over. So they go back to the Jeep. They grab these commando straps, like not wires, I don't know how to call it, ropes. Mm-hmm. They throw them over the fences, and they climb one by one to the other side. And they get inside their compound. My dad was seeing this from the woman that's hiding us, the white woman. She's like, look, they're going to find the ladder that we climbed on. to come to this fence. If they do, they'll come here and they're killing all of us. So I'll take one for the team. So he talks to my mother. He's like, look, I'm gonna go, and I'm not coming back because they're looking for me now. They climbed in, they're gonna kill me. But talk to this guy, talk to that guy. Money's here, and see you in heaven. He says bye to us. He goes back over the fence back to our compound. He says, hey guys, you're looking for me? I'm here. We're here for your blood. And they ask him, look, don't make this any longer than it has to be. You're not going to survive. So they tell him, you have 3 minutes they ask him, do you want a bullet? Where do you want the bullet? So one guy pulls out a pistol. They had AK-47s, other guns. He pulls out a pistol. He says, and we're watching this from the window, all of us, and we're listening. And they're like, where do you want the bullet? In your head, in the temple, or in the heart? He's like, in the temple, but give me 3 minutes, let me pray. So he gets on his knees, looks up in the air, and he prays. While he's praying, his 3 minutes are up. The guy goes to the side, cocks the gun, pulls the trigger, and kills him.
He is now 33, having moved back to Rwanda after years in refugee camps before finally ending up in the United States. He's trying to pick up the pieces of his father's former thriving businesses. The most painful thing, he says, is seeing former killers taking over properties that were once his family's.
You see them every day?
Every day I meet them and their kids. And they still have the same hate for me as it did for my father. And
the case went through Gacaca.
It went through Gacaca and was never resolved.
26 years later,
yes. 26, our whole family was just dumbfounded because there's witnesses, people who went to jail during, because of committing crimes of genocide, came out and even testified on our behalf that they were helping stack up the safes, the goods for those guys. And they're next to us.
Blaise says it is easy to forget after 26 years of pain and suffering, but forgiving what happened is another thing altogether.
How can I forgive? How can I say, you know what, rest in peace, my dad. Everything is great now. It's gravy. It's good. Kumbaya, let's sing it. No, I can't because my sisters, I can't see them. My siblings, I can't. My dad's properties are all gone. And 26 years later, I have to run these properties, family-wise. The parent is suffering from all types of diseases. You name it, heart disease, backache, eye surgery. Last year, the year before, stroke. And I'm the only son. My sister, one is married. The other, we barely communicate. Money is hard. We're young, in the 20s and 30s. We're going to the 30s. Now I'm back because I wanted to just face everything and help and go up again. And I got everything against me, the whole world. If my father was alive, none of this happens, none of this. So 26 years, I'm affected heavily by what happened on April 9th.
Now, Blaise's story is not new. The entire country's population of 12 million people have very similar stories.
Now, one of the most important things about any memorial in any part of the world, at least for the sake of the victims and the survivors, are the names. Here at the Kigali Genocide Memorial, it's no different. But what chills my blood to the bones is that a lot of the names keep repeating themselves, almost as though there's family members, one after another, after another, after another. So just imagine for a moment a family driving down the streets of Kigali 26 years ago, pulled over at a checkpoint.
Inside the dungeons of hell. But it is something that must be told and retold and retold.
If this doesn't get you, I don't know what will, Vicky. This is bone-chilling, horrific stuff.
It's riveting. I mean, your story is good, Jeff, when the camera guy you went with has been sitting here watching his own story.
Greg
Excellent
Juma.
work. Excellent work. And Greg, great job. You can't see him, but he's here.
The hair on the back of my neck is standing.
It's a chilling reminder.
And there's more.
Absolutely. Part 2 of Lessons from Rwanda coming up. All right. Welcome back to Sunday Live.
That's right. And look, if you just watched the first part of that Lessons from Kigali, we're not doing it to scare you. We're not doing it to, showcase anything.
Not at all.
We're showing you facts as they are.
It's a sober message.
It's a sober message. Hopefully someone is listening. And that was just the outside, 7.5 acres that occupies the Kigali Genocide Memorial. 250,000 remains and counting. We want to now take you inside the Kigali Genocide Memorial. You can put names to faces. Take a look.
It is a short walk down a dark alley and an equally dark staircase, and into what many here call the belly of the beast, inside the Kigali Genocide Memorial. The first thing that hits you are the pictures. Pictures of death everywhere. Pictures taken by bystanders. Pictures taken by journalists who were working there at the time. Pictures taken by family members. Pictures that speak 1,000 words.
Now, a walk through this genocide memorial here in Kigali is like walking into hell. The scenes that took place some 26 years ago, they come back to haunt you. They're as eye-popping as they are blood-curdling. It's incredible, the amount of savagery and hatred and loss of life. And you can see that in the pictures. They're here for everyone to see. People killed in churches, people killed in homes, people killed in the streets, people killed everywhere. That's what happened 26 years ago. And Rwandans are saying, we're never going to forget this. They're telling everyone across the planet, we will not forget because of what happened here some 26 years ago.
It is death on a scale unseen anywhere in the last quarter century. The Hutu militiamen, or the Interahamwe, those who hunt and kill together, seemed determined to wipe out the entire Tutsi population in record speed, slaughtering an average of 10,000 mostly Tutsis and moderate Hutus a day for 100 days. How else can one explain the cruel murders and senseless killings that took place in churches? That's right, churches, which are meant to be places of worship in regular times and places of refuge in times of crisis. Instead, here, the churches became the abattoirs, where the Tutsis were the lambs being led to slaughter by the Hutus.
It's not just the victims' bones that remind us of what happened here. There are other personal possessions.
I remember walking into several churches across the country 16 years ago and was numb with shock at what I saw. The decomposed remains of victims everywhere. Their clothes, shoes, personal belongings scattered along with their bones. And the skulls. Who can forget the skulls? In some churches, skulls were piled one on top of the other, the same way one would pile a stack of books on a shelf.
Here's a gentle reminder. Inside these glass casings, this is not a movie. This is the real thing. These are the real skulls of people who were killed 26 years ago. The bullet holes, you can see them, the machete cuts, the axe cuts, the crude weapons. These are real skulls. And look at these. Most of these are babies, young people. And look at this, the bones and the limbs, the remains of them all strewn here. These are the only ones here in the Genocide Memorial. And there's more inside the tombs and the vaults and the mass graves. This is what happens when a country turns on itself. And you may wonder, how could this happen? Well, It starts with an insult here, a word of mouth there, a phone call here, a radio broadcast there. And this is the result.
And here are where some of the clothes retrieved from the churches and schools and streets have ended up. Just in case someone recognizes a piece of clothing worn by a relative who disappeared and has never showed up 26 years later. The chances are they were killed and dumped and forgotten, and the only memory is the clothes they wore.
Hello, sir.
Dion, you okay?
I'm fine. This is Akbar.
Akbar.
He's one of our team.
Diodon Nagiriwubuntu, or just simply Dion, is one of the genocide's miracle stories. His entire family was wiped out by the Interahamwe. He survived, and in a bittersweet twist of irony, ended up as a tour guide or visitors relations officer here at the Kigali Genocide Memorial. Dion explains the word Kwibuka, which is displayed everywhere here and updated every year. This is year 26. Kwibuka literally means never forget. And Dion is determined to tell anyone and everyone who visits this place that they should never forget what happened here.
After the visit, everyone goes with a message of hope, message of building peace, and yes, message of building humanity in our communities.
Dion is an everyday reminder that his fellow countrymen almost exterminated an entire future generation.
There's an entire section of this genocide memorial dedicated to the youngest victims of the genocide. It's called Tomorrow Lost, and it features infants as young as Chanel here, and it gives you all the details. Her name, Nadia Chanel Ruterana Koinange. Age 8, favorite sport, jogging with her father, favorite sweets, chocolate, favorite drink, milk, favorite song, My Native Land Which God Chose for Me, cause of death, hacked by machete, 8 years old. And here's Fidel Ingabire, age 9 years old, favorite sport, football, favorite food, chips, enjoy TV in the company of other children, cause of death, shot in the head. And the pictures go around and around and around this room. The youngest victims of the genocide, who today would have been in their 30s. Just in case you think this is make-believe, listen to the testimony of these young victims, like 7-year-old Uwayisenga. Listen to what she said. A militiaman came up to kill me. I was astonished because he was a friend. He used to come to our house every day. He farmed my father's field and he received a salary. My mother gave him food. We used to play with him and he was like a brother to us, even though we were not from the same family. She goes on to say, I asked him why he wanted to kill me when I had done nothing to hurt him. I begged him to take pity on him. He just said nothing, but just hit me on the head with a machete. He had bits of wood in his hand, which he stuck into my face. When he thought I was dead, he left. Listen to the words of a 7-year-old. Are you listening? Are you listening? Are you listening?
We are here to educate the world. So we say, let's build humanity. We need to promote positive values to never experience the same experience as we did. So the world need to live peace-free.
This is what happens when a nation implodes and turns on itself. All it takes is a spark to light up an already simmering fire. An insult here, a word of mouth there, a phone call here, a radio broadcast there. And by the time it gets to this, it is already too late to stop the madness. The question is, on which side of history do you want to be on if the madness begins? Or when the madness begins. Jeff Koinange, Citizen Television, Kigali.
None of that would have been possible without folks like Gregory Juma, Monica Kirago, Henry Owiro. Unbelievable stuff.
Excellent work.
I'm still.
It's always difficult kind of going back to the dark past.
Yeah.
But at times you need to.
Yes, in order to move forward.
Absolutely.
It's a story that has to be told and retold and retold.
Lest we forget.
Thank you.